Welcome back to Story of Growth, where we dive deep into the messy, beautiful journey of becoming who we're meant to be. I'm your host, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hey everyone. I'm so excited about today's topic because honestly, it's one that hits close to home for probably, 90% of us?
At least. Today, we're talking about imposter syndrome, that nagging voice that whispers, "You don't belong here. You're just pretending." Someone's going to figure out you're a fraud. And more importantly, we're exploring how to transform that fake it till you make it energy into genuine confidence and belonging.
Right. And can I just say, imposter syndrome doesn't discriminate. I mean, we're talking about Nobel Prize winners, CEOs, Academy Award winners who still feel like they're just winging it. Maya Angelou once said she was afraid people would find out she had, quote, run a game on everybody.
Maya Angelou, a literary icon who changed the world with her words, and she still felt like a fraud sometimes. That really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And I think that's actually our first insight right there. Imposter syndrome isn't a sign that you're actually an imposter. It's often a sign that you're growing, pushing boundaries, doing something that matters.
Hmm, I love that reframe. Speaking of growth, I have to share something personal here. When I first started this podcast, I remember sitting in my home office, well, let's be honest, my kitchen, recording take after take because I kept thinking, who am I to give people advice? I'm still figuring out my own life.
The kitchen studio, I love it. But seriously, that's so relatable. I had a similar moment when I got promoted to a leadership role a few years ago. I spent the first 3 months waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, "Actually, we made a mistake. You can go back to your old desk now."
Thanks for playing along, but the real manager is here now. I bet our listeners are nodding along right now. But here's what's interesting. You stayed in that role, right? You didn't actually get found out as a fraud.
Right, and that's the thing. I was so busy focusing on what I didn't know that I completely ignored what I did know. I had the skills, the experience, the vision. I just couldn't see it through the fog of self-doubt.
That's such a crucial point. Sometimes we're so focused on our gaps that we become blind to our strengths. So let's talk about the journey from feeling like we're faking it to actually owning our space. What does that transformation look like?
Well, I think it starts with understanding that fake it till you make it isn't actually about being fake. It's about acting with courage before you feel courageous. It's about showing up before you feel ready.
Yes, it's more like practice it till you embody it. You're not being dishonest about your abilities, you're growing into them in real time.
Exactly. And one strategy that really helped me was what I call evidence collecting. Instead of only noticing when I messed up or didn't know something, I started intentionally documenting wins, even small ones. Like, today I asked a great question in that meeting, or my idea actually sparked a productive conversation.
Ooh, I love that. It's like building a case for your own competence. There's also something to be said for redefining what making it actually means. I used to think making it meant never feeling uncertain or out of my depth again.
Right, like there would be this magical moment where you'd suddenly feel like you had it all figured out and belonged everywhere you went.
Spoiler alert, that moment doesn't exist. Or if it does, I haven't found it yet. But what I have found is that making it is more about getting comfortable with discomfort. It's about being okay with saying, I don't know, but I'll figure it out.
That's huge. And it connects to something else I learned: the power of what I call strategic vulnerability. Instead of pretending to know everything, I started admitting when I was learning something new. And you know what happened?
People didn't lose respect for you?
The opposite. People respected me more. They saw me as authentic, as someone who was curious and growing. Plus, it opened up space for others to be learning too, instead of everyone pretending they already knew everything.
That creates such a healthier dynamic. It's like when we drop the mask, we give everyone else permission to be human too.
Exactly. And speaking of being human, let's talk about the inner dialogue shift that has to happen. You know that voice that says, you got lucky or you fooled them this time,
Oh, we're intimate friends, that voice and I.
right? So instead of fighting that voice or pretending it doesn't exist, I started responding to it differently. When it says you got lucky, I say maybe luck played a role, but I also prepared and showed up. When it says you don't know what you're doing, I say I'm learning, and that's exactly what I should be doing.
That's such a compassionate way to handle that internal critic. It reminds me of something I read about treating that inner voice like you would a worried friend, acknowledging the concern but not letting it drive the bus.
Yes. And here's another thing that shifted everything for me. I started focusing less on proving I belonged and more on contributing value. Instead of asking, do I deserve to be here? I started asking, how can I help? What can I offer?
That's brilliant because it moves you from a defensive position to a generous one. You're not just trying to avoid being exposed, you're actively looking for ways to make things better.
Right. And when you're focused on contribution, you naturally start building evidence of your impact. You're not just surviving in the role, you're actually thriving.
As we're talking about this, I'm realizing that the journey from imposter syndrome to confidence isn't really about never feeling like an imposter again. It's about changing your relationship with that feeling.
Oh, that's so true. Sometimes I still get that who am I to be here feeling, especially when I'm pushing into new territory. But now I recognize it as a sign that I'm growing, not as evidence that I don't belong.
It's like the feeling itself isn't the problem. The problem is when we let that feeling make our decisions for us, when we don't apply for the job, don't share the idea, don't raise our hand because we're waiting to feel qualified enough.
And here's the truth bomb. If you wait to feel qualified enough, you'll be waiting forever. Because enough is a moving target. There will always be more to learn, more ways to grow.
So true. And I think that brings us to one of the most important points, embracing the identity of a learner rather than trying to be an expert who has it all figured out.
Yes. When you see yourself as someone who's constantly learning and growing, then not knowing something isn't a threat to your identity. It's just information about where to focus next.
So, for our listeners who might be struggling with imposter syndrome right now, what would you want them to know?
First, you're not alone. That feeling you have, it's not proof that you don't belong. It's proof that you care, that you're pushing yourself, that you're doing something meaningful.
And second, you don't have to feel confident to act confident. You can acknowledge the uncertainty and show up anyway. That's not being fake, that's being brave.
And remember to collect evidence of your growth and impact. Our brains are wired to notice problems and gaps, so we have to be intentional about seeing our progress and contributions.
And finally, redefine what making it means to you. It's not about reaching some mythical state of permanent confidence. It's about becoming someone who can dance with uncertainty, who can say, I don't know, without shame, and who shows up authentically even when it feels scary.
You know, having this conversation reminds me why we do this podcast. Growth isn't about perfection, it's about courage. It's about showing up as ourselves, messy and learning and trying anyway.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, thank you for being here, for being willing to grow, for being brave enough to keep showing up even when that inner voice is loud.
Your story matters. Your voice matters. You belong here.
Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, you're not faking it. You're making it happen, one brave step at a time.
Thanks for listening to Story of Growth. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it.
And remember, we're all just figuring it out as we go, and that's exactly as it should be.